From one facing speedsters and God knows what, to the other facing world-ending villains. Enough with which version of Flash is better, I want to see who has the worst villains. Because our boy Grant Gustin has one huge list of them. I can think of like 25 from just the top of my head. Let's start with the one with the coolest suit, Savitar, one of a total of 6 prominent villains that are speedsters in the series. After Barry undoes Flashpoint, he leaves behind a time remnant that is rejected by Team Flash for not being the real Barry. Anyway, you know how it goes. The time remnant changes into Savitar, the villain who murders Iris, to make sure that all of this happens. Yet, the fact that Barry in any form would ever harm his lifelong partner is what makes this whole thing so difficult to accept. This divergence from the comics that he is a version of Barry makes it difficult for the villain to be intriguing. All of that coolness when he first appeared on screen really went all crazy. Anyway, talking about crazy, the one which really made the Flash series into a meme, Godspeed. I'm gonna be honest here, CGI got the best of him. Godspeed poses a serious threat in the comics, and while his sleek white and gold costume looks fantastic on television, there hasn't been much success in translating the character as of now. He's not so terrifying. Really kills the fun, doesn't it? Talking about less fun, the next one is Multiplex, who had the potential to be one of the Flash's greatest foes because of his ability to immediately make an infinite number of copies of himself. But it almost took little to no effort to take him down. Anyway, moving on, the next one is the Thinker. And despite the fact that it appears odd in his floating chair, his greatest strength is his ability to outsmart Barry Allen and the team by meticulously planning everything. It's not exactly a cool or visually appealing skill, although it allows for some interesting clashes and the Professor has a little unsettling look that works well for the show. There have been many cooler antagonists that the Flash has encountered. I mean, if I was there, I'd just have hit him with the, "What are you doing, bro? You're not a thinker." You know who else is not a thinker? The one with 0 brains, Killer Frost. Caitlin Snow has seen a lot of ups and downs while battling her alter ego Killer Frost. It's amazing to witness the gifted performer Danielle Panabaker go through that personality change. Yes, the character is really stunning visually, and her outfit is rather fierce, but she has quite unusual abilities from many of the previous antagonists the Flash has encountered. But once she joined Star Lab, she actually got a bit cool, get it? Alright guys, hear me out here. Even though a Fire and Ice team-up is usually entertaining, Captain Cold and Heatwave rendered the cliché somewhat ridiculous. The use of cutting-edge technology rather than superpowers gave them their skills. They clung to classic heists rather than putting their abilities to better use. They were a popular duo among fans because of their strong relationship, but as criminals, they lacked direction. More anti-heroes than villains, but you get it, right? Moving on to worse ones. Music Meister. The Flash and Supergirl's musical crossover was a memorable one, but the Music Meister's motives were strange for a bad guy. He was more of a trickster since he constructed traps for the heroes to learn a lesson using his abilities. He imprisoned Kara Danvers and Barry, warning that if they passed away in the dream, they would also die in reality. He used their abilities to pretend to rob a bank in order to get Kid Flash to trust in his abilities once more. Meh. Anyway, talk about being blah. You can guess it already, can't you? Leslie Jacoy acquired her magnetic abilities after being struck by a particle accelerator explosion while working as a flight attendant. She changed into Amunet Black and utilized her strength and metal controlling abilities to rule the criminal underworld in Central City. She could have shot far higher given her incredible power, but instead, she intimidated renegade metahumans into buying stolen technology by using her powers. When she located the Weeper, she imprisoned him and made a handsome profit by selling his tears on the black market. That's a very not-so-Flash kind of villain. Oh, and I almost forgot, the weirdest one, Dr. Alchemy. After Flashpoint, Julian Albert was introduced as Barry's CSI partner at the CCPD when the timeline resumed. Julian had no love for Barry, and he made it very plain by expressing his disapproval of Barry's lack of professionalism on a regular basis. Barry struggled to cooperate with Julian while maintaining his secrecy about being the Flash because Julian had a specialty in metahumans. The worst thing, though, was that Julian didn't know he was Dr. Alchemy, the metahuman Barry, and he chased down to create the Flashpoint metas. There's more, but I think that would make me the villain. So now that we're done with Grant's worst bad guys, I think it's time we move on to the real-life villain, Ezra Miller. With the Flash movie around the corner, let's be honest, their version of Flash hasn't really faced a number of bad guys to even make a list. What, like Darkseid? Steppenwolf? That's it? And look, the villains Ezra's Flash has come against are some dope ones. You can't say that they were bad. Steppenwolf can be considered if you take the one from the non-Zack Snyder cut. On top of that, these are some real apocalypse-causing, world-ending bad guys. Grant's Flash has a big list, but none of them can even come close to Ezra's villains. Like, come on, what the frick was that Red Death? Homie, you're not vengeance, you just made people cringe. The one villain who actually carried the show was Reverse Flash. And you may disagree, but you can't change my mind. Plus, the upcoming movie that is said to reset the DC universe with a Flashpoint, we may just see what a perfect Flash villain is. Oh, you haven't heard? The upcoming not-so-solo movie accidentally revealed Dark Flash as the villain. And no, it's not Black Flash, Dark Flash, who made his debut in the late 1990s when Wally West served as the primary Flash during the outstanding Mark Waid run. The Dark Flash originates from a parallel universe in which Wally lost the battle to save his wife Linda Park and as a result becomes vengeful and cruel. In the comics, Dark Flash just donned a more sinister variation of the standard Flash suit, which included bigger silver lightning bolts and crimson accents. However, compared to the 1990s style, the movie's costume designers chose a far more severe aesthetic. According to the teaser for the film and statements made by James Gunn, the new co-chair of DC Studios, this iteration of Flashpoint would produce several parallel universes rather than just one or two. As a result, it seems sensible that one of those worlds would have a bitter Barry, maybe as a result of his breakup with Iris. The disgruntled Wally from the comics might not have as much strength or a cunning strategy as this version, considering the darker tone of the movie. But hey, let's see if Dark Flash can outdo other villains. If he does, then you'll have your answer as to which Flash has worse villains. Clearly, Grant. So many villains, and yet the real-life villain has gotten stronger antagonists. Let's hope Gunn's plan works out. Meanwhile, that was all for Ezra Miller vs. Grant Gustin, who has worse villains.